Sophie,
I can't be in the middle.
you want to balance. Demaria,
Yes.
what are you thinking?
I think we should. Wait, there's too many
Just be
shoulds.
against.
I think we'll be okay. What are you thinking, Demaria?
Who's against grades?
Should what, honey? Finish that sentence. Should have grades. Come on into the circle. Just a minute, watch.
I have a question. Who in here is not wanting grades?
Sophie, can I run it?
Yeah.
Thanks, sweetie. Show me your hands, please, if you are, right now you think you're against grades. We don't need to have grades. We can function without them. Okay, so we've got that perspective. Who thinks we absolutely should have grades? We should not give that up. Who is somewhere in the middle? So I think we'll be okay. Okay? Okay, with my outer circle now, listen carefully. You need to pick up the form, use a clipboard or whiteboard to write on, and form your circle around it. Fishbowl participants, I need you with 5 as well. Thank you. So before we get started, can we talk just briefly about what our protocols are for being in this? So, Emily.
Well, you need to like let everybody in the conversation instead of just like 2 people dominating the whole conversation.
Okay, great. You're welcome to snap when you agree. Jack.
The outer circle can't have a say in the conversation.
Some of you have said that's the hardest part, right? That the outer circle can't offer an opinion during the conversation. Sharat, please come join us. Aisha.
You should try not to monopolize.
Okay. What else have we talked about when we've established this? You heard Emily say that we need to not have it just between 2 people. Aisha said we need to not monopolize. Elijah?
Outer circle needs to be quiet.
Outer circle needs to be quiet. Aiden?
Invite people.
Invite people if we hear that they're kind of hanging back. Welcome them into the conversation. Sophie?
That the inner circle should try and back up facts.
Yeah, we're working hard on evidence, aren't we? So we're working hard on facts and reasons for it, not just opinions. Maria?
If you're like in the middle, you shouldn't like agree or to something, or you might be in the middle, but like if you're not, you think you shouldn't have grades, I think you shouldn't agree to like you should have grades.
Okay, can I piggyback a little bit on that? Can our opinions shift when we're in the circle?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Aubrey?
Don't focus on one point.
Okay, to not focus on one point. Emily?
Make sure you have supporting evidence for your statement and not going back to the same statement over and over again.
Great. Okay, as we get started, here are the reminders I'd like to give you. 1, please use a loud speaking voice so everybody hears it, because that makes a huge difference. 2, from this point on, I'm going to suspend hands, right? We're going to be doing kitchen table talk. So what does that mean when we go to kitchen table talk? We're on kitchen table talk. What does that
Everybody
mean?
can talk and
You don't have to wait
have
for
a chance.
You don't have to wait for ants to get ready. You can just like talk and no one's talking.
But you just can't interrupt them.
Yeah, and also let other people have the chance at speaking what they want to say.
Great. Are we ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Inner circle, please begin.
I actually don't think grades are that important because it doesn't really show what you're learning, and also you you shouldn't really concentrate on what your grade is. You should concentrate like what you're interested in.
Well, you should have grades because if you don't have a grade, if like you aren't really like motivated to get good grades, say you don't have grades, like you were at the spelling test, it wouldn't really matter if you got all of them right or all of them wrong because there wouldn't be any grades to tell you how you did.
I agree with Ethan because if you took a test, you wouldn't know like what your score would be if you didn't have grades.
Basically, but I think that the article is not saying that it wouldn't be in that way. It would be more of the teacher would kind of be more of a one-on-one with you. You kind of have more of a relationship and you'd be able to talk about it. And so instead of just giving a flat-out grade and just going with that.
Yeah.
And also, I think it says in the paragraph, grades make it easy for teachers to see how to understand, but that doesn't mean it's going to make us like understand it more. But if it's ungraded, students become more focused, engaging, and when they grade, the number, like say if you're 92, it doesn't mean that you're 92. That's just a number. And your grades are how like smart you are, and how intelligent,
And how much you turn in your work and stuff
And also,
like that. It could have been like that, where it could have been, you could have even had a bad day,
Yeah.
and it could have been just that, and then you got a bad grade, and then you go home upset.
For mine, I had students who are in kindergarten thought second grade hope one another with their iPad. There's no pressure to earn an A. There's no fears to receive an F.
Jack, what do you think? I think that you shouldn't have to fear about getting a bad grade. If you get an F, you should be motivated to do better. Not to sit there and mope about how bad you get.
I also agree with Jack some because it says making mistakes is a way next time to avoid making mistakes. So that's why sometimes grade can also be a good thing, but there are also bad things in grade.
Yeah, because your grades can like pressure you. If you want to get an A, you push for it. Like if you're afraid to get an F, you'll stay down and not go for it.
And if you know that
I'm going to bring us to conclusion so we can hear from the outer circle too, though. Just a minute, outer circle. So inner circle, how many of you, would you by show of hands, show us if you shifted your position to some degree after that conversation? Did you change your mind somewhat? Show us if you did, please. Those that think your position stayed the same, show us. Your position stayed the same. Demaria, Jack, where were you in that?
I was like in between because like I understand what Abigail and Neka was saying, but then I kind of got like Ethan and then like Cheo were saying, but I'm like I'm in between.
Okay, so now inner, ready to listen to outer. Outer, what I want you to remember is the same protocol. We're going to try a kitchen table talk, which means we're waiting for one person at a time, and it's really only one voice, so be careful about that. We've got time to hear everybody, okay? Who would like to start off?
I like that they backed up their opinions by using evidence from the text.
I think it was, everyone was just agreeing with the same idea 90% of the time, so it was really boring. But I think the conversation kept going like well, and I think some people made a lot of good points.
I think that Ethan and Neka did a good job of supporting evidence, and Jack had a good point of saying like about grades, and Anitra did a good job of letting Ryan talk, and Neka did a good job of letting Anitra talk.
I think that it wasn't boring, well, in my opinion, because everyone had new points, and they had and there was nothing wrong. I think Cheo had good evidence.
And I think like lots of people have like a lot of good evidence and stuff, but then the room to grow is like Ryan wasn't talking that much, and some people are cutting each other off, and they agree a lot.
I think Ethan 2 times had some really good points. Cheo had a good point. Cheo had a great analogy. Neka did an excellent job supporting her point with evidence. And I think some room to grow would be Ryan and Jack did need to talk more. But Jack, when he did talk, the one time I heard him talk, he had a good analogies.
I think that everyone did a good job at going back to the book and using the book and supporting their evidence. But something they needed to work on was like in the beginning they kept on saying or like, and they need to be a little bit louder, and there was some interrupting too.
I think that Ethan and Demaria, I thought they made really good connections to their real life with the grades. And I found that Jack had a really strong opinion, like over and over, he just kept stating good points. Cheo had a good opinion too, and he made a good point. And then I found Abigail doing lots of different things on there. And I noticed that Anitra and Jack and Ryan and Abigail all drew other people into the conversation. And then there are a couple people who weren't talking. There was also a couple points they kept repeating. I think Ryan and Abigail did a good job going back to previous points for evidence to their new points.
So Inner Circle, you've had a chance to hear about what Outer Circle has to say. Inner Circle, do you want to add anything to the conversation? Kitchen table talk, you can just talk.
I think that they gave us some good compliments, and I also thought we gave good facts about our real life and like other, like from the source.
Yeah, not just from
Yeah, I also, when they say it was kind of boring, I probably think that they say it's boring because they're just sitting down and observing what
And
we're
they're
doing.
not talking
And
at
like
all.
if they get a point or like a good point in their head, they can't say it to us or like say it out loud. So.
So we've agreed, we've been growing in this. We've agreed that most of you prefer being in the Inner Circle. Would you snap if you still agree with that? And it's because you can carry on the conversation. Would you snap with you if you agree with that? Am I reflecting that accurately, Sophie?
I like doing lessons that can write down everything because you can't say anything and then write them. But then it's kind of hard to say a bunch of stuff when there's more people on the outer side when you have stuff written down, and then it's more. Then it's that makes that more fun to be in the Inner Circle because there's other people so you can talk.
Inner Circle, I have a question for you that I'd like you to just kitchen table talk about. When we began, the first time we did this, everybody did what in terms of who they talked to?
They agree.
To turn and agree.
Who'd you look at?
They look at the person who was opposite.
First you looked at me,
Oh
remember?
yeah. First we did that, and
How did that go today, Inner Circle?
much better.
Because we weren't focused on one person and like in one. We kept looking at everybody that were talking.
Yeah, and I felt like it was like when I did it, I kind of felt like more like I looked at all my opponents. Like I mean, I was like I looked at Jack a lot because he kept sticking to his one point, and I'm like, I wonder like which one of us is gonna shift opinions, if either of us, and so it was kind of interesting. So I'm just like,
If
well,
I agreed with somebody, I'd probably look at them.
yeah.
But other than that,
It's like,
Outer Circle, as you consider that, how do you think they did keeping the conversation in the circle and not looking to the outside
I
of
think
it?
that they did good looking at the person who was talking and giving a statement and maybe an opinion.
Yeah, I kept looking at the person who was talking and inviting more people so everyone had a chance to talk. So no one was just looking at one specific person the whole time. They were looking at each other and talking about.
yeah, but like they were like the conversation was just in there and they didn't and like we were invisible. I felt like that.
And that's really growth for us, isn't it? Because in the beginning we had a hard time not interacting between the inner and the outer circle. Yep. So now Outer Circle people, I have a question for you. After listening to them, did any of you have your opinions change at all? Show me with hands if your opinion changed to some degree.
Not really. Kind of like.
Okay, how many of you have the same opinion as when it started? Okay. Anybody have any final comments before we wrap up?
I thought it was kind of hard to like hurry up and think of something when they said, "What do you think?" Like,
Yeah,
I had to hurry up and
like,
think
yeah,
of
hard.
something and say it.
It just seemed a little harder. I thought it was
What do
kind
you
of.
think?
I think that is. I thought it was kind of hard to get into conversation. You know?
Yeah. But I thought it was kind of hard to do like. I thought it was kind of hard to think about your ideas as they were like talking, but then I kind of like got ideas from other people talking, and I kind of like to understand. I kind of got to understand what they were saying. So yeah. You want to know what they're saying and then make up a comment.
I think another thing that the Inner Circle has to work on is knowing what to say exactly. Like when somebody says like, "Jack, what do you think?"
Like
or
having
Mario, what do you
time.
think? Like knowing what you're gonna say.
Thank you, because you just triggered a thought for me. We started this by just talking about our own opinions, remember?
Yeah.
And now you've moved to text evidence to base it on. How many of you found it helpful to have the text for the evidence as you were discussing?
It's all boring.
Anitra, what did you just say?
I said this would be good for the like finding evidence for the
Yes, we've talked, because there's a lot of emphasis on finding evidence.
And just going on.
Yep. Okay, awesome job. Give yourself a round of applause. And then please share back to your desk.